Hi, today might be a little contentious. Dave from Informed American here, talking about your responses to our question. With a record number of workers claiming unemployment and some pulling in more pay than they would normally from working, do you think qualifications are fair, or do they need to be more strict? We asked all of you your thoughts on that, and let's start off. Let's set the table a little bit about what we're talking about. There's a story on InformedAmerican.com, which you can head over to, called "Baltimore Restaurant Can't Get Workers Back. They Make Too Much on Unemployment." And there's some details that have come out. This is an example in Maryland, but nationally, what's been going on? Of course, we know about the coronavirus relief package from March, and what they did is they added $600 per week in unemployment insurance through the end of July. Now they're thinking of that House bill that we talked about a few days ago. They're talking about extending that through January. We'll put that aside for a moment. So what that did was that added $600 to an average of $378 nationally, and that comes out to I can do math, $978 per week. That's about $50,000 per year. And there's a story in the Wall Street Journal that says that's about half of all workers, about half earn, just about around that median point. And in the case in Maryland, it's $430 per week, so even more. By the way, go ahead and weigh in on this. If you haven't submitted your comment, go ahead and put it here in the chat, the comment section below. I'll read your response, and you can go ahead and react to anything else I'm saying or any of the other responses that I'm going to read. So just keep that in mind. I love to have this conversation with you while I'm here live with all of you. Going back to the story in Baltimore, so yeah, they basically make too much money on unemployment. He's trying to reopen his business, but his workers aren't coming back. The business owner here says they don't want to come back to work, and I don't really want a restaurant full of unhappy employees. They don't want to because it's less money. They don't want to come in because they're not going to earn as much. I'm not even angry or upset with them. I understand. Why would you want to come back and actually work and make half as much money or 2/3 as much money? And you're working, so you just get it to stay home. You can essentially make, depending where you are, but on average, $50,000 a year. You can earn about $50,000 per year annualized on unemployment benefits based on this thing that they passed. So I want to, before I give my thoughts, I want to read through some of the responses from all of you. And actually, I'm gonna put this story here in the chat if you haven't seen it. This one from InformedAmerican.com. So there, that one is. Go ahead and click there and read when you get a chance. But I will start reading your responses. Let's start off with Pam Witzeman. He says, I think paying for all the stimulus is an overwhelming reality. I feel betrayed. The Republicans have made Obama look like a penny pincher. I still think we should have quarantined people with health issues and keep the economy going. And I hope production booms the way Trump thinks it will, or I don't see how we'll avoid inflation from this newly digitized money. And okay, so we get a little back and forth there. It's basically, it wasn't really, what do we do about this unemployment situation? So we got a reply from Thomas Branson. He says they should be taken off unemployment as soon as their jobs open. If they do not wish to go back to work, they should be made to wait and refile, then get their regular percentage of employment. No brainer. That's a really good point, Thomas. I mean, if your company, sorry, just looking here to see if any of you replied. If your company calls you back, aren't you no longer unemployed at that point? I mean, shouldn't you, how do you still qualify? I mean, I don't know exactly how that works, per state, but I would think at this point you kind of have to go back to work, right? I don't know how, I'm not quite sure what the mechanism is that allows you to stay home and still collect if your employer is saying we're open. I don't know if there's special circumstances surrounding the coronavirus. I know some people might claim, I don't want to get sick, so I want to stay home, kind of a thing. I don't know, but yeah, I would agree with Thomas there for sure. Diana Lynn Summerlin says, I think that unemployment benefit recipients who refuse an offer of employment should be reported to a hotline that cuts off their benefits immediately. Yeah, again, really kind of along the same lines. I just really don't know how that works. Johnny Cockaroo says, call them back, then stay gone, and then they're gone for good. So yeah, well then Well, then in that case, then they get the unemployment benefits, Johnny. Vicky Presley says we essential workers are not being paid anymore and are working overtime to make up for those getting unemployment as the restrictions on workers take key people out of the office. People are blaming the president for this, and it's beyond anyone's control. That said, there were lunatics that give people more money than they were making at work. Why go back to work, right? I mean, we're essentially talking about incentives here. What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think? Should there be a rule? How about that? Should there be a rule if your employer calls you back and you refuse, you essentially get what reported or something? What do you think of that? Milford Dawson says your mother told you life was fair. Yeah, well, she did. And apparently it's not. So thanks for that reminder. Dennis Berger says, can't tell. Been waiting 7 weeks for my first unemployment check here in Pennsylvania. Wow. Sorry about that, Dennis. That's awful. Waited 6 weeks for stimulus because the IRS was too stupid to use my Social Security direct deposit like they were supposed to. Oh, that's awful, Dennis. So here we are. Many of us railing against people, getting these unemployment benefits unjustly or whatever you want to call it, getting more, getting too much money or something. And here we get poor Dennis here who can't even get his unemployment. He's been waiting for weeks, had to wait for a stimulus check for weeks. That sucks, man. That really sucks. I'm sorry about that, Dennis. And we don't always assume, we see a story and we see a report, and I guess we're all guilty of this. We see something in the news and we immediately rage at that thing, right? And we assume everyone's taking advantage of the system. Everyone's sort of collecting money, unjustly or something like that. And then we get Dennis here who can't even get a stimulus check, can't even get an unemployment benefit for weeks and weeks and weeks. Dennis, I hope you're doing well. I hope your family's doing okay. Let's move on here. John Ward, not all that hard. You had a job and then you didn't. Okay. And then Frank posted a bunch of memes. There's one with the Joker. There's one with, what is this, like an Illuminati thing? I don't know. And then a picture of a guy. I don't know who that guy is. And then, oh, there's one. Okay, here's another meme. In 1672, a mob of angry Dutch killed and ate their prime minister. Options, just saying. So, what are you thinking here, Frank? We're gonna storm the White House here? He says, and then he continues, I heard that elite tastes like chicken, some fine eating victuals. Stephen Lawrence says, not good at all. And then we get Rob Corville says, make it strict as hell. Go to work. Okay, great points, guys. Again, before I get out of here, if you want to throw something in the comment section here, I will read your response. Now I wanna give my take here. Oh, and I also got a comment from Shirley Hicks. Need to be more strict. Too many freebies. Shirley says there's too many freebies. But again, wow. What about poor Dennis who can't get his unemployment insurance benefits? So I'm a little split on this. There is that real question of, at what point are you no longer unemployed, right? At what point should you be able to still qualify if your job is wants you back? Because I did no thanks. Kind of thanks. I'm making more money. Get it? Fine. But how long is this? Should there be some other system in place or some system that basically kicks you off the unemployment rolls if your employer tells you to come back? And maybe there should be, but. Another thing I was thinking about, and I didn't see a comment from any of you on this, which is, what about people that are working that didn't get laid off, that weren't furloughed, but were under that sort of income threshold that we were talking about, right? Let's say you make under, because we did the national average, if you add on what the state unemployment benefit is on top of that extra $600, you kind of work that out mathematically, it comes out to be a little bit over over $50,000 per year. Let's say you're a worker who earns less than $50,000 and you didn't get laid off. And you're busting your ass. You're out there possibly, maybe you work at a grocery store. This is one example. Those are kind of, those are one of the people that, or maybe you work at a gas station or something, and you're running into the public constantly. You're at risk every single day of catching this thing. And meanwhile, somebody else who earns, same as much as you or less gets laid off, and they get to make more than you sitting on the couch. Just give that example. What about the people that are working? I'd love to know. I think they're also the kind of the losers of this, I guess, if you want to call it that. But on the other hand, the more I think about this too, I understand we're sort of angry at there's some injustice here. I think that gets at us, and of course Congress spending all this money to bail things out. But at least on one hand, the money we're not maybe in this case is a little bit of a bailout for the people. What if we call it that? Because we know. In any of these crises, the banks they're up number one, right? The Federal Reserve steps in, gives them trillions of dollars, backstop, whatever. Banks are made whole. Big businesses made whole. But what about lower and middle income earners? What do they get? Not much. And this is maybe one of the first times that, maybe we get a little extra. Maybe us middle class people get a little something that, whether you deserve it or not, I don't know. But I do know one thing. I know the banks don't deserve it. I know the large corporations don't deserve it. Just thinking, we're spending all this money. It's going to happen. I know a lot of us don't like the fact that now we're talking, a $3 trillion bill that the House passed that has gone to the Senate. And, money gets wasted. It does. And it goes to bad actors a lot of times, goes to special interests. I mean, so I guess if that's going to happen, if that's baked into the system, because God knows it's not, when is it going to get reformed? So we throw a little bit of extra cash to people. I don't know. Is that really the worst thing in the grand scheme? When we're bailing out bad actors, bailing out banks, bailing out big corporations, stuff like that. And then meanwhile, we got that example of Dennis who can't even get his check. So I don't know. I am split on this, and I think if you think about it a little bit, you can kind of see all angles. But yeah, I'm kind of with you halfway, all of you halfway, because it seems like the sentiment from all of you is that this is wrong and that should not be allowed, because it does kind of it skews the incentives, because we do want people out there working, earning money. So I understand that. But on the other hand, like I said, a bailout for the people, I don't think it's that bad. By the way, go ahead and check out. I mentioned that story here. I posted in the chat. Go to Informed American, check that out. And I'd love you to go to our site. If you haven't, if you're just a Facebook guy, go to informedamerican.com. And I'd love it if you would subscribe to get real smart news in your email inbox every single day. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll catch you on the next video.